good morning. Thanks for joining me this morning. I know we normally go through Nehemiah, but today we're going to break things up and we're going to study the passage on the four friends and the paralytic. But before we get to that, I want to tell you a quick story. And I know that you hear Jim and Art and I tell military stories all the time. But this one I'm going to tell you another story. It applies to what we're talking about here. And this is when I was in Ranger School. So when I was in Ranger School, they take away your food, they take away your sleep, and they expect you to lead all these soldiers around and do Army stuff. And when we were doing that, part of my exercise and my leadership time was to lead 40 guys at like 2 in the morning to the patrol base, which is where you go camp at night. And so it's like an impossible task. It was a new moon, which means there's no moon up at Niththar. You're in the mountains. I was in Dahlonega, Georgia, if anyone knows where that was. And, I have 40 people behind me, and I have to guide them through the woods to probably about a mile or two away, and then kind of put them in like this horseshoe formation, actually a triangle, and then tell them to go to sleep, pull security, do this whole thing. And I start out this movement, and I'm like, I have no hope. There's no way this is happening. I can't even see the hand in front of my face. And yet I'm going to have to lead 40 people like through the woods. And then, with pulling security and all the, just everything that has to do with that. So 5 minutes in, we had our first break in contact. And what that means is the front of the line isn't linked up with the back of the line. So I have to stop the movement. I have to go back and try to find the lost members that somehow got led astray at walking through the woods. And this didn't just happen once, it happened twice. And so I knew I wasn't going to pass. You just know you're not going to get. So 2 in the morning, tired, sleepy, you have to get 40 people through the woods, and you already know it's to no avail. You've already lost cause, end of the game, but you still got to go through the motions. And so when I finally got everyone there, I was tired. It's like, hey guys, just go ahead, just form up here and go to sleep. And I stayed awake all night and saying, you know what, at least they're going to get some sleep, and I'm looking at them enviously, but, and I know I'm not going to pass this test. And when in the morning, go to show, ranger instructor comes in, says, how'd you think you did? I'm like, it's a disaster. And he goes, I'll say. It was brutal. He really was. It was brutal. But I say that all to make the point, I went through so much effort to get nothing out of it. And the passage we're going to talk about here today is the four friends bringing a paralytic to Jesus. And the fact that they knew there was going to be more out of it. They were going to get something out of that. It wasn't, hey, we hope that someone will be lenient on you and say, go ahead, free pass for this time. No, they came with expectation. So we're going to dive into the passage here, if you want to follow along, in Mark chapter 2. I'll start out in verse 1. And again, he entered Capernaum after some days, and it was heard that he was in the house. Immediately many gathered together, so that there was no longer room to receive them, not even at the door. And so that sets the scene. That sets the scene, if you will. Okay, crowded house. I thought of this when I was reading hospitality-wise. Okay, I'm inviting someone over, and they're going to bring 50 of their friends. What? Today it's unheard of, but not time for hospitality. It was extremely important, especially as an esteemed teacher was coming in to meet, so that a crowd would gather, and that sets the scene for what the four friends are dealing with. And he preached the word to them. So the word there is logos, and it's used throughout Acts and in the rest of the Gospels, and really he's preaching the good news. So Jesus was being faithful to his message. And then they came to him, bringing a paralytic who was carried by 4 men. And this is where I really want to start focusing on some of the things that we could take away. The four friends knew the destination. Okay, was this the house next door? Was it across town? We don't know. But the four friends did. They knew where to take this paralytic. And there's often times that we say we know Jesus and we say we know how to get to him, but are we sharing that with our friends? Some takeaways there. They believed that Jesus could help their friend. Now, they didn't have TV back then. They didn't have the newspapers or CNN. They heard word of mouth that a man named Jesus came to Capernaum, came to their town, and he was capable of healing people. And so they brought a paralytic. They brought their friend. Could you imagine bringing a friend to Jesus? What would that look like? And it says here that they brought him, and when they could not come near him because of the crowd, they uncovered the roof where he was. And then they lowered him down on his bed sheet. Can you imagine carrying a friend on a sheet? Have you ever helped someone move? You know? and so when you're shouldering up a load and you're carrying that heavy burden, maybe you're carrying a couch and you're shuffling along with your friends and you sort of have to be in unison. You lift, I'll lift. Well, there's 4 of them, and they're carrying on a bed sheet. Now imagine carrying a friend on a sheet and how hard and how tight you'd have to grip that sheet in order to carry them. They didn't have stretchers back then, you know, so they'd have to shuffle. And they'd have to shuffle through this town, and with an end in mind. They sacrificed to do this, sacrificed their time, their effort, their comfort to carry this friend to Jesus. And it says that because of the crowd, they had to climb the stairs to the roof. Now in Palestine, that's not uncommon. They would have stairs up to the roof, and because they did laundry up there, they did work up there, they prayed up on the roof. So it's not uncommon for people to go up on the roof. But it is a little bit uncommon to dig through someone's roof. All right. So not only were they carrying this friend up a set of stairs on a bed sheet, then they dug through the roof. All right. So they just would not be denied access. And they sort of possessed this ingenuity. How do you dig through a roof and then lower someone down into a crowded room? Did they bring ropes? Would you be able to do that today? I know I can't. You know, we don't normally have stairs up to a roof, but how would you even dig through a roof? And in those times, it was, you know, it was mud, clay, you know, sticks that kind of became a mortar. That they used their hands. That they planned this out. That they bring a shovel. They bring ropes. So they might have already known a little bit about this situation, and they would not be deterred to bring their friend to Jesus. Lastly, on bringing their friend, they risked retribution. They destroyed someone's property. Would that impact you on sharing the message today? Would you be willing to destroy someone's property in order for them to have a salvation moment with Christ? I know that, like, whoa, this is property. We can't take that step. I'll invite them to Jesus. I'll invite them to church. But, you know, will you meet them there? Will you drive them in your car? You know, there's some sacrifice here. And so we could take this and we could apply it to today. Okay, we've all just been through Hurricane Sandy, and we have opportunities to serve. Now, a lot of people think about being a Christian as going to church, reading your Bible, telling other people about Christ. And that's not wrong.